this person here that we all know, Hao, had written to us, and he said, I'm starting this new thing in Vietnam, and I'd love to interview you guys. Would you be up for an interview? And of course, we were. Back then, we had a very, very open door policy. Basically, if you could find us in our small factory in Tuduk, we would give you a tour of the factory. I mean, really, that's pretty much how we function. And everyone today, 90% of the people who are involved in chocolate today have been through our factory.
Wow.
So it was part of our open door policy. So we extended that to yourself, and you came and you conducted your first interview, I believe, right?
Yes, first ever interview on Vietcetera.
With Sam and I, we were in our office, and you came with your recorder, and then you did the interview. You left, you edited it, and then you presented it to us. Sam had the first listen. I believe it was listen, right?
He read it.
It was transcribed. So yeah, and he's like. And he said, point blank, I think you can do better than this.
Yes. Well, you guys, my lesson from that experience, and by the way, the article ended up getting published, it's on Vietcetera, was that you guys have a very high standard in a good way. It reflects on your work too, though, hopefully.
Absolutely. So, and I have to say that your work has incredibly, flourished and everything. So it's, I think that first comment from Sam.
It definitely pushed us. It was me and my business partner. He's more in the audience. We didn't expect that kind of feedback as a new blog at the time, a new media company. But it helped set the bar for better stuff. Let's just put it that way. So
fantastic.
But great, yeah. 7 years later, we're still around. So thank you, Vincent, for coming to speak today. I think a lot of people here, they know the chocolate bar. Mourou chocolate's been around for so long. Maison Mourou is a bit newer. It's been around for a few years too, though. But we've seen more of them open throughout Vietnam. I think you have 4 or 5 locations now. I read in the news recently that you're trying to open 10 more this year. Is that true? And what's behind that strategy? Why more Maison Mourous, the cafe concept, rather than expanding more resources on the chocolate bar? Or maybe you're doing both. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so it is true. Our focus is on retail. So opening some more shops. Today we have 8 shops, and we are currently set up to open 10 more this year. So that's happening. Maison Marou was Marou's been as a success. We brought Vietnamese cacao to the world. The world responded, and Vietnam at first was really challenging for us as far as selling bars of chocolate. And then of course things changed with the more and more tourists and things coming. And when we started Maison Marou in 2016, it was, first of all, our first retail experience, but also we were launching a breakthrough retail experience in the sense it had never been done in the world before. Where you in one shop you see chocolate making from the bean all the way to the bar and then transformed into pastries and drinks and all that. No one had ever gone all the way there. But we could. And so since we could, we felt that we must do that, right? So anyway, that's been successful. So the format of the flagship, the big, heavy ship is costly. So therefore, we created some models that were a bit lighter, but would also provide an equal experience to our customers in our strategy to expand through Vietnam. We really want to reach the heart of the Vietnamese.
So you'll have almost 20 locations, presumably, by the end of the year.
18.
You'll have 18 locations by the end of the year. We're going to record that, so let's see. We'll check back in with you in December. But Vincent, that makes me wonder, wow, the likes of Starbucks, let's say, has around 50 locations, I want to say, maybe more, 50, 60, 70. But I mean, you guys, once you're hitting double digits, you're competing with the likes of Starbucks or Tous Les Jours or these existing players who have very formidable operations, and they've been around, they're very well known. Is that the future direction? You want to be competing and being better than those guys, or are you a totally different experience?
We're a quality-focused operation, so not quantity. Number of stores doesn't excite me. What excites me is being able to provide an amazing experience in each one of our stores that's, at a world-class level. And that is really what gets me going personally. So we're not trying to compete with Tous Les Jours. I mean, I think we're positioned differently than they are. We're not a coffee chain either. Our operations are much heavier. We produce everything ourselves. We don't go out and try to find suppliers and try to knock them down on price and all that. We find the finest ingredients. We get inspired by them, and we create something ourselves to give to our customers. So it's a very, very different approach, and therefore the scalability is not the same in the sense of our positioning, the amount of work that goes into providing that experience. That's not really how would you say it? For us today, feasible, So, we take things step by step, but we already have 8, and they're beautiful shops. I'm very proud of them. The team is amazing. We offer essentially, we're creating chocolate makers, we're creating pastry chefs, we're creating, store managers that are really focused on customer experience and depth. To be able to, our brand has depth. We go all the way to the farm. So we need people to really be able also to be our ambassadors, to communicate that to, potentially to every client.
When I first heard of Mourou, it was an idol kind of brand to me as a young person, but also as a young entrepreneur many years ago, and still is. And I saw it though as a brand more about bringing Vietnam to the world. Like, I would see bars in places like Japan and France and the US, and that's what I saw the future as. And now to hear about the expansion of the retail and the brick and mortar, what triggered that? I don't want to say change of strategy, because I don't know your strategy like in depth, but what really modified that focus? Because I mean, export's still a big business, not going to stop. I'm sure it's growing. But what triggered it? Was it, wow, a lot of Vietnamese people, they just like what we do, or they can spend more money on quality products? Like, what triggered you as the CEO and chairman to make that big move?
Well, we live in Vietnam. The cacao is from Vietnam. The talented staff is from Vietnam, and we have a growing audience. And we've been successful with what we've done, whether it's the bars in Maison Marou. And we still are an international brand. I mean, we're still bringing Vietnam to the world. It's just that the focus is more on Vietnam these days. We like to be able to control, that way, because we really, again, our hand is on the quality of what we do. So by staying in Vietnam, we're able to control things a lot more. Whereas working with distributors and stuff in the past and even today is much more challenging. You have a lot less control on what's happening. And so I think with COVID as well, we were here. We had to do something by being here. And so several things have helped to change, to look at really what has been, what we have control on and what is successful and where the future lies for us. Vietnam is extremely dynamic and vibrant, and we're really excited to be here to be able to offer something that really doesn't exist anywhere else.
I've got a final expansion question for you. Our buddies at Pizza for Peace will be speaking later today, and they're in India soon. They're in Cambodia. Yeah. Will we see a Maison Marou somewhere else outside of Vietnam soon? Is that in the plan?
So that's in the cards for sure. We would have done that. We were about to do that right before COVID, and then of course that took it away. But absolutely, I mean, it's interesting because the Marou and Pizza 4P's story is 2 houses away.
Oh, really? Oh, where you guys started?
So I live 2 houses away from the first Pizza 4P's, and where Masuko, I think, was living upstairs. And Sam and I were starting Marou in Sam's kitchen, and Masuko and Sunny were breaking ground on their first restaurant at the exact same time, and we've been friends since the beginning. So so I really admire those guys. It's beautiful what they're doing. They've really created, especially in the last 4 years, an incredible brand, and a brand that will be successful overseas. And I think really hats off to those guys. I mean,
you must be learning a lot from their expansion. I mean, they built these beautiful stores in Cambodia. The Masukos have now moved to India. They were supposed to come to the conference. They have their team coming today instead. We'll hear from them later this afternoon. Will you be moving to a place like India soon? I hope not.
Well, the world is open. We can go to so many different places, and actually, that's a very tough choice. You can take a more adventurous route, or you can take a little, slightly less adventurous route. But what's important is you have to have an audience. You have to have people that are open to what you want to offer, and so on. So. Yeah, I mean, there's those guys are incredibly inspirational, more than ever, really.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, guys, keep in mind there's 8 locations of Maison Marou. There's a couple in Hanoi. There's many of them in Saigon. Check them out because it doesn't look like the majority of you guys have been there, but you should go. Thank you so much, Vincent, and we hope to welcome you back next year.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Fantastic.
Yeah.